Hi there, and welcome to my advanced guide for Heroes Hour. I'm Icon, and in this video I'm going to talk about a couple of tips, tricks, and strategies that will help you out with this game. As usual, every topic has its own timestamp, so if you want to search for something in particular, go check out the description box. With that out of the way, let's get started with the first thing. Go build yourself a tavern at the first thing, and hire yourself a second hero right away. This is good for so many reasons. First off, you have yourself your personal fetch boy that will pick up all these random items, random resource piles, random whatevers. Everything that's not important enough for your primary hero can be done by the secondary dude, and he can do also some scouting for you. So you'll always benefit from the strategy in one way or another, and the costs might be seemingly high, like a quarter of your starting resources usually, but you'll get more than that out of this investment practically every game. So there's really no downside to that. I can't stress it out enough, especially since if your secondary hero ever gets attacked, you can retreat him, you lose your army, but you'll keep the hero. So really, pretty good stuff. Second tip and strategy I want to talk about is think about a build order for the first couple of weeks. I really can't talk enough about how important it is to think about what to build in which time frame. The most important things when you directly start out are resources, income. You really want to have as much money as possible, so every upgrade that increases your daily income, like these city upgrades or stuff that gives you daily resources, are extremely important and should always be prioritized if nothing else is more important. There can be, of course, other things that are more important, because there's a secondary thing that's directly after income, that's armies. Income and armies. So you want to build your building producers as quick as possible. Most of the time I try to build all my troop buildings out of these two tiers in the first week, if possible even one from the third tier. This is important because once this last day of your week 1 is over, you get a refill on all these buildings, and the more buildings you have, the more troops you will produce, even if you aren't able to recruit them right away. It doesn't matter, they don't go bad, but the earlier you have these buildings that produce the units, the better. So early on, focus on building your income as quick as possible and building your troop buildings as quick as possible. Especially the first week is extremely vital and should include all the troop buildings that you can grab and all the resource buildings that you can grab. As you see here in this particular scenario, we are already really well down the road. All the buildings here are done. I even got a fort. The fort is another thing that you want to build as quick as possible because it allows you to increase the output of one particular unit type. Your favorite unit type, for example, can be produced in large numbers with that thing. Try to build the fort if you can, always in week 1. If not possible in week 1, at least at week 2. So all in all, your build order should aim to have all the troop buildings unupgraded at week 3, if you're really fast, preferably even quicker, but that's really nothing you can always ensure. But week 4 is the latest when you want to have all your troop buildings available, so you don't get outrun by the AI. Because the AI does only cheat the harder you set it. It doesn't grow smarter or anything, no, it just has more resources than you. And the only way to counter that is to grow as quick as frickin' possible, and that's my second strategy. Cover up a build order that's focused around income, troop buildup, and then all the rest. Like, seriously, all these other strategical things, only build them if you don't counter your income or army buildup. Sometimes I love to build a very early guild of mages, for example, when my primary hero is a mage. Then in the first week I forego one of these things, but just keep these things in mind. It's really helpful. So the next thing that I want to talk about is build your strategy around the unique sides of your faction. So every faction has its own unique perks. So right now we're playing the Elven faction, and you not only have different units, you also have different buildings and different skills on your heroes. So for example, the Archdruids here produce new units whenever they cast a spell and heal their units whenever they cast a spell. Try to check out what's the unique sales point of your faction and play around it as hard as possible, because really it does make a ton of difference. Every single one of the factions in the game has some mechanics and things made especially for them to make them brutally effective. For example, my demon faction playthrough that I had a commander who was able to teleport enemy units around the battlefield. In the end, I was sometimes able to kill armies that were vastly stronger than me by merely teleporting their ranged units in the middle of my melee dudes, and they just got eaten there. And on paper, fights were sometimes flagged as challenging or even impossible. So playing around your faction's unique sides can be sometimes a dramatically overpowered thing, and learning to play around it and checking out what you can do is a lot of the fun of this game, and I really can't stress out enough to check it out. So next thing I want to talk about is more a strategical approach, and that's expansion. What do I mean with that? Expansion is one of the most important things in this game. Try to grab as much as possible, as quick as possible. In this game, you really want to be the greediest thing alive. This means that you want to grab each day resources, buildings, whatever. You should always try to prefer the permanent income over the temporary income, so when you are conflicted with the question whether to grab a building or a resource stack, always grab the building first, because everything that gives you a constant income is extremely good. The other things outweigh. And apart from that, well, I can't really generalize things that easily, because expansion always works a little bit differently depending on the map that you're playing, but all in all, try to get your greedy fingers on everything that you can. Travel around the world, grab as many resource piles as you can, conquer as many little buildings as you can because you just happen to have a hero there. And all in all, the more income you generate and the more mines you have, the more cities you have, the more likely you are to just overtopple your enemies, because really, this game revolves a lot around resource generation in order to win the game. It's like half of your victory. It's strategy and resource generation. So the next thing I want to talk about, I even put up a single spot for it on my whole list, is the infirmaries. I put this up as a separate thing on my list because they are a pretty unique thing for this game. Practically every faction has infirmaries. What do they do? They resurrect half of your dead units after combat. Stat. And they put it into this town afterwards. You even can put up a hospital to increase the power of that. And the infirmaries and the hospitals I consider as some of the most important things, and I didn't include them in the build order because I wanted to talk more detailed about them in this part, but seriously, there's nothing wrong about putting up an infirmary in week 1 if you suffer a lot of losses because you have a faction that's consisting out of lots of weak melee dudes. Then infirmary week 1 is totally okay, but put it up latest at week 2. But you see here, it's week 1 and I got it already because it's that good. It saves up 50% of your army and it only gets better. You have heroes that can grow more efficiency out of these, and the more infirmaries you have, the more units you save. So all in all, this is such a powerful mechanic in this game, and overlooking it is tossing away 50% of your losses after each fight, and that's unacceptable. You will really lose too much of your power if you don't use the infirmaries. So go check them out. They are really good. And with that being said, the next thing I want to talk about is magic. So magic in this game is extremely powerful, and you can do absolutely bonkers things with magic. So you should always try to force in the Guild of Mages as soon as possible, but like I said, think about when to build what. Like for example, in this scenario, I'd rather go for, what do I want to have? Grizzlies or Blade Singers, whatever. I'll take the Blade Singers, and the Guild of Mages can come another day. But all in all, magic is extremely useful in this game, and my hero already has a couple of spells that are useful. If he hadn't, I would have went for the Mages Guild, but keep in mind you can always learn spells by teaching your heroes just their skills. For example, I've learned an earth spell by learning this thing, I've learned an air spell by learning, like, having this spell, the skill from by default, so you can't teach your hero spells without building a Mage's Guild early. So I'll show you now how cool this can be. So my druid hero here has access to Magic Arrow. It's just a little bit of a splat spell, but you see 118 damage is quite a lot. I killed like I killed like, I don't know how many units right away. It looked like it was only one. But my dude also spawned some units here. Now let's bless our dudes with luck, create more units, heal our units, and at the end of the day, we're now beating down these guys with almost no losses. Well, I lost a Blade Singer. That's a little bit sad because they are costly, but all in all, the more magic you use intelligently in your conquest, the more impact you'll have, and the easier it'll be to actually win the game with your heroes. So to some degree, you will come to the point where you'll notice that the magic has such a high impact that you can beat virtually everything if you have the proper setup. But don't overestimate yourself at the same time. But all in all, really, use it as much as possible, and don't shy away from your options. Even fighter-typed heroes in this game have spell-like abilities that are unlocked via the skill tree and are always worth being checked out. So that's all I have to say about magic. Use it, try to wrap your head around it. There's lots and lots of different options there, and I enjoyed myself a ton playing around with this so far. Alright, the next thing I want, and the last thing I want to talk about, is the skill system of this game. Of course it is quite obvious, it's a thing, but I want to talk about how to use it as effective as possible. Whenever you check out one of your heroes, whenever you got a new hero and you got a new faction, check out their skill tree as well. Every hero has, as you see here, a couple of skills on top of the tree and a couple of skills on bottom of the tree. Don't make the mistake to think that the skills on bottom of the tree are per se the strongest. No, that's just the skills that they have the most trouble skilling up effectively. The best skills to skill up are always on top and in this tier, because this you can just level up whenever you want, and these can be leveled up when these are on the same level or above. And as you can see here, the deeper you go down the tree, the harder it gets to level them up efficiently. Of course, there are some really insanely powerful skills up down here. For example, healing is a good thing. So you just raise 20% of your casualties after each fight if you have that. Pretty sick. But beyond that, here, a good example, Aromancy is just a primary skill for my Arc Druid. So what I want to say with this is check out what your hero is excelling at. For example, this dude here has a high focus on archery, and he's pretty good at summoning animals. And, well, this guy, I haven't checked out that detail. Let's go over here. This guy here is totally biased towards spellcasting. You have 2 Mancies, and you have a skill which teaches your dude even more spells, and you have the skill which spawns units and heals your units for spellcasting. So this translates into this dude wants as much mana as possible, as much skill cooldown as possible, as many different spells as possible, and just spammaroo as hard as he can. So try to create builds with your heroes. Try to think about what you want to do with them, and you'll see you'll grow much more effective than just randomly clicking down this tree, whatever looks interesting at the moment. So, that's all I wanted to put up in this video. I hope there were a couple of ideas between that you found helpful. Drop me your comments down below, whether it be something you want to tell me, or if it's other tips, tricks, and strategies that you want to share. I'd be more than happy to have you here. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and of course consider subscribing. There's daily content coming up from my side. All you need to do is hit that notification bell. Besides that, check out my description box. You'll find a link to my Twitch channel there, where I also stream. So, I'd love to see you there live. Have a good one, and see you soon. Bye-bye.